Morning, everyone. This is episode. Good morning, everyone. This is episode 169, dude. Our
It's
guest
a
is
big
Justin.
number.
It is indeed. Obviously, Chill won't use the dude thing because our guest today is Justin from the Death and Taxes Nightmare Progression Guild. And Justin, during your intro, can you just give us a bit of background on who Death and Taxes are, where they started, all that stuff?
Absolutely. So, Death and Taxes is a Nightmare Progression Guild.
No, once we start the show.
Hold it. Once we're actually rolling. Because this isn't live yet, we're just pre-showing. So,
The chat room gets to see.
yes. Alright, Justin, can you please start your Audacity? I will start mine in a moment. Red,
Yes, sir.
are you recording?
I think so. Yes, I am.
Alright, Justin, you still there?
Yes, I am.
Alright, you are recording, sir?
Yep.
Alright, yeah, we were actually chatting before we went live, and we realized we really should be doing this on the air. Because, yeah. Alright, yeah, the order is as spec. Anything else we have to go through before we go? Yeah, there we go. Lots of stuff, lots of stuff.
I will, when I get to my section, try to speak rapidly.
Oh, good. Alright. Remember, set armoring stuff in your feedback, Red.
Yes. Yes.
Alright, and rapidly good. Alright, Jill.
I was active this week. What can I say?
That's good. If we're all recording, then let's go.
Right. Just making one quick note. Going in 5. Hi, and welcome to the OotiniCast. It's coarse, and it's rough, and it's irritating, and it gets everywhere. This is episode 169, being recorded on Wednesday, October 8th, 2014. I'm your host, Chill, and with me is my co-host, Tio. Hi, Tio.
Hey, guys.
And with us today are Red and Justin. And Justin, let us know all about you.
Hi, I'm Justin from Death and Taxes. We're a Nightmare Progression rating guild on Prophecy of the Five. Basically, we just try and kill bosses as fast as possible and try not to hate ourselves while we're doing it.
Okay. That's cool that you're doing nightmare stuff, because yeah, you're way ahead of us casuals. So.
To be
Do you have
fair,
any,
I was a casual when I first started out playing this game, and I actually listened to OotiniCast when I was playing this game at a casual level, and only recently during the tier of Dread Fortress and Dread Palace did I go into Nightmare rating. So it's been a bit of a quick learning curve for me, thrown into the fire, if you will.
Awesome.
Do you have any notable world firsts in Death and Taxes?
Yes, we have the first 4 bosses of Dread Fortress Nightmare. We have world first for those. We have world first for Kevas the Undying from TFB, Operator 9 from TFB, Writhing Horror, and Terror from Beyond. Obviously, we don't have world first Dreadguard because a good portion of progression was guilds skipping Dreadguard, so shouts out to anyone who actually did it without skipping. Most recently, we got World 4th Gatecrasher for DF, and we got World 4th Dreadmaster for Dread Palace.
Excellent.
Nice. Wow. Okay, how about like this week? What you been up to this week?
This week's been a little bit of the same. I raided Dread Palace Nightmare on my Marauder. We got a quick Dreadmaster clear. And then more recently, I also got to heal Dread Palace. And by the way, I'm not a good healer, so let's preface it with that. But I basically spent my entire time during that raid being carried by our very good healer, Kakazu, and he basically carried me on his shoulders with his best back brace so that I could get 5 out of 5 and get the Rancor on my Merc. It was an eye-opening experience, and I have a lot more respect for healers than I did before because I was afraid I was going to kill the entire raid the whole time.
Sounds good. And I assume you've already done the pre-order?
Oh yes, I woke up, I had texts from guildies about the fact that there was an expansion announcement. I went online and pre-ordered immediately.
Nice. So, let's see. Now you're pretty much like done with content at this point. or I mean, I'm obviously you can run it over and over again, but I mean, what will you be doing until the new expansion?
Well, I actually have quite a bit of fun doing the content continuously. Like I'm still somebody who, even though I do Nightmare, I'll still do story mode pugs. I will transfer pub side tunes because Death and Taxes is not a pub side guild to other servers just to experience content with guilds that are newer to the content because I actually find that to be really interesting because to me nothing is better than a guild's first clear of something because everyone gets really excited.
Yeah,
So
we usually
true.
cheer when we get a new boss down, so especially if it's like Operator Zero or one of those really annoying ones. Excellent. All right. Well, thanks, Justin. We'll be talking with you more, of course, and feel free to, uh, pipe in anytime you need to. And we'll go ahead to Red. Red, what you been doing this week?
Let's see. As I said last week, I was going to, and I did. I went into Hard Mode Terror from Beyond on Thursday, as promised, and finished that on Sunday. We got to the final boss, and it just was late enough. Actually, half of the group was pugged from the beginning, and several people in the group had never done a hard mode operation at all. So it was actually a lot of fun to be able to go through there. It made doing it with new people that seeing it through their fresh eyes enabled me to enjoy Terror from Beyond again. Having full cleared it Nightmare mode pre 2.0, I was not particularly looking forward to going back in there. But yeah, it was a lot more fun that way. I also finally did the Imp side storyline for Rakata Prime because I wanted to get those achievements, and lo and behold, the aquatic sling dropped, and I got it.
Oh, nice.
I was really psyched. The problem is, at this point, I have too many mounts, and I haven't really decided which character should have it. So I haven't...
Oh, it's not bound? Okay.
It's a good question. I never even looked to see if it was bound. I hope it isn't. Otherwise, I guess I'll be using it on that character.
Okay.
I have to remember what character it was, too. But anyway, I was actually rather surprised by the end of it. The Imp storyline does differ from the pub side one a little bit more significantly, and it makes it sound much more like it's Revan. And of course, we'll talk about this later in the show, but they make it seem much stronger. There's some speculation at the end of the pub side that, this, I don't really think this is Revan, but on the Imp side, it sounds almost definitive. KDY, I realized I've only got to finish, getting those random final bosses 10 times, and I'll have 100% on my KDY achievements. Oh. And I'm not reputation max, but I decided to start rolling it, and I've started leveling my jug through KDY just to push for that 100 achievements. I was hoping to get it done over the weekend, and realized with the random nature of it, I just didn't want to play that much. Other than that, I did operations. After Hard Mode Terror from Beyond, I just decided to open up and really go to town. So I ran Hard Mode Dread Palace, cleared that. Did Story Mode Dread Palace, cleared that. Did Hard Mode KP, cleared that. Did Story Mode Dread Fortress, cleared that. Did Story Mode Terror from Beyond, cleared that. And then I went in, and for some insane reason, I had guildies tell me that they wanted me to do Nightmare Dread Fortress with them. It was supposed to be a 16-man group doing a single boss fight in some other operation, but nobody was online. So they dragged me in and said, "Let's go do Nightmare Dread Fortress." And I was like, okay. By the way, I haven't ever done this on hard mode. And I
so you're jumping right to Nightmare?
Right.
Was this an 8 or a 16 at this point?
8-man. And
wow.
yeah, and I was like, and by the way, I also haven't done the story mode of this operation in probably 9 months. And they're like, oh, well, we'll take you anyway. four bosses later and an offhand.
Wow, that's cool.
I was so pumped, so excited. And those fights are fun. They really are technical. They're really involved. I have to give props to the 8-man. If any of them listens to this show, thank you for tolerating the fact that I did wipe the group on every boss at least twice. Well, okay, other than the first boss, because of course that one's easy.
You were upfront with them. I mean, you let them know exactly where you stood with that content, and so they clearly were okay with it, and they should be okay with it. So that's cool.
Yeah, and we did it, and I mean, because of the depth and variety of mechanics involved, especially like with Draxus, you can't. It's hard to get carried in an 8-man group. Like, I had to be very involved in making sure that I was doing interrupts at proper times and positioning. Dude, I died to that stupid magnet from the Ranker boss. I don't know how many times. Oh, jeez.
When I'm tanking the Rancor, I usually keep an eye out from the magnet by moving my camera around, because it can be a station. I can make it a stationary fight, except when I need to actually move the boss to the magnet, and because of that, I can use my camera to keep an eye on the magnet and see if there's any raid members that are heading that way.
Well, and that's the thing. I was actually on my gunslinger the whole time, all week. I didn't tank the whole time, so I wasn't even. But dude, yeah, it was like fine.
Well, what I'm saying is that it's easy. I do that because it's easy for the other raid members to not notice it creeping up on them.
Okay.
Because frankly, it's the physical part is way above you. There is a circle on the ground, but it's a little subtle. It's kind of whitish gray. It's not it's not very bright or dangerous looking, and it can certainly come from from a bad camera angle for a lot of people. So that's why I do that. Yeah.
Yeah, they finally just yelled at me. I kept panicking because that frickin' lava kept dripping on me constantly, like all day long. And of course, as soon as okay, I did die a couple times because I didn't move, and it just kind of went drip, drip. I'm dead. Finally realized, okay, I need to run. Then I'd run like a chicken with my head chopped off right into the magnet. I'm dead. So they basically said, dude, seriously, just stay in the middle. You want to lay down the lava so that all those ads go running through it anyway. Just stand in the middle. Stand in the middle. Go ahead and run it in circles. It's okay. If you're gonna act like you got a chicken, you're a chicken with your head chopped off. At least act like a chicken with your head chopped off, and don't go anywhere. Just run in circles.
Right, because it's the outside where the magnet travels. That's good.
So, and we got that, yeah. And I have to say they were really great for Corruptor Zero. They flat out told me, listen, dude, just make sure you're with the group at all times. Don't worry, you of course you'll be on ads. I think I was in Saboteur spec for it, so I had good AoE clear and everything, but they were like, no matter what you're doing, no matter what ads you're trying to kill, no matter what, just make sure you're grouped together with our DPS. And I never had to pay attention to calls for the laser beams or whatever. They knew what they were doing. They were running to the right place at the right time, and that made that a lot easier. But yeah, I did also, for my freaking story, or was it story mode? It was Thursday, hard mode. Hard mode? Story mode? I can't remember. Anyway, Nefthan came into my live stream, and man, I have to give him major props, because it turns out when you don't put an ability on your bar that's necessary for your DPS spec, you don't do very well at DPS.
Yeah, it'll hold you back.
Fancy that. Oh, it was bad, because I went to Dirty Fighting for the first time actually since 2.0, and completely left wounding shots, aka Cull on the Imperial side, wasn't on my bar. And I'm like, man, I feel like I'm missing something. I shouldn't be using charged bolts all the time like this. Like, what's going on? And he's like, dude, where's your wounding shots? I'm like, wounding shots? Oh, crap. But yeah, no, it was great. And as a result, having done as many operations as I did, and them being gracious enough to bring me in on Nightmare Mode, and being successful, I absolutely, for once, will call out my pubside guild, Ready Check. Very happy with them. Hopefully I didn't piss them off by wiping them too much. Look forward to operations I can do with them in the future. And they're a great guild. A lot of fun guys. Their focus isn't particularly on story mode or hard mode content, but if it isn't an operation night, they're usually real willing to come in and at least do hard modes with you if you're interested. So
that's cool.
Beyond that, I did finally purchase. I trolled my chat room and told them I wasn't going to be buying the expansion. Of course, I did wait a day, but then I picked it up, and in about 2 hours' time, I've been able to level from 37 to 45 on my Juggernaut.
You really held out with the moral fortitude, didn't you, Red?
Yeah, I did. but
I'll
I mean,
show
honestly,
them at BioWare. They're not getting my money. One day later. Pre-order, please.
Huge news, though. I did want to add out there. I don't know if anybody heard about this, but Twin Peaks is coming back. That's right, I'm not talking about the expansion. Twin Peaks, huge fan. Definitely had massive nightmares when I was way too young watching it when it first came out. Like, young enough that I crawled into my parents' bed and said I can't sleep alone in my bedroom, and that was not a shameful thing for their tiny little kid. But it was, yeah, I'm excited about that.
Wow, okay.
Okay.
Hey, if it excites you, it excites you. I watched it. Some. It was like a big thing when I was in college, and there was the drama department like would have everyone over for viewing parties, and it wasn't my favorite show, but they certainly had fun.
It's a wackadoo of a job, especially once you get to season 2. It just goes crazy,
Yeah.
hog wild, nuts.
Are
I
we
think my
really talking
problem,
about Twin Peaks?
not much longer. No, I think my problem with it was that I didn't get to start. I was, doing other things in college and missed like the first few episodes, and it was just it was too weird to catch up on because
Yeah, definitely.
all the subtle nuances, you kind of need to have all of them. Anyway, so Tio, how about your week?
All right, let's talk about rating for starters. We did a 4 or 5 clear in hard mode Dread Fortress. Went ridiculously quick. Obviously, at this point, it should. Corruptor Zero, we got through him fairly quickly, and then we had a few goes on Brontes, just in the time remaining. So that was going pretty well. Then rating day 2. For better or for worse, we did a quick group finder clear of story mode Dread Palace just for the conquest points. And then we switched back to hard mode Dread Fortress and worked again on Brontes. And we finished a bit early. Things just weren't clicking. I don't know what went wrong. We were just going downhill. So, yeah, maybe there was something in the air or whatever. So anyway, we switched it to Nightmare just to do Nephra. And then we got another 8 guildmates and did 16-man story mode Taboro's Courtyard, just again for the conquest points, just for the weekly turn-in. That's all you got for that. So speaking of conquests, we finished comfortable 6th place in Section X. We roughly stayed around there for the whole week. Contributors this week, Dread, DJ Red, once again had top points over 4 characters, though Rue was close behind. He got to the weekly cap on 6, and I actually came in 3rd place with 4 characters over the cap. So that was nice. A few other, the usual suspects. This week, I decided Nashadar was up again. It's the same one that came up in about week 4. So decided to do that because you get the dailies, which contribute 1,500 points per plus bonus.
Mm-hmm.
And we're doing okay, but honestly, there's really not much interest from guildmates in actually doing conquest-related stuff. Everyone's leveling for some reason. How about that? Speaking of which, I started, this is something Ari suggested, she started a new character as well, Jedi Shadow, so I thought I would fire up a Jedi Sentinel because I did want to see the Jedi Knights story again after reading Revan, and I decided to go Dark Side, which I have never done on either of any of my upside characters actually. So he's bad, very bad. I thought of renaming him to T.O. Bad, but came to my senses in time. But I did actually pre-order the expansion, and thus that came to a screaming halt. I am not going to touch that character until basically after 2nd December.
Right, because you don't
when the XP gain goes back to normal.
Right.
Yep.
You don't.
What I will do instead is get my so I'll get my Sork, my PvP Sork, who's level 47, been for ages, so I'll just push him through to 55. I might take a sniper through 1 to 55, just because I can, that kind of thing. But not yet. I got to Legend with Voss. That week we invaded Voss. I did those daily so many times on so many different characters. I had all of these tokens left over, and I've just been feeding them every week.
Right.
And this week I got the Legend with Voss with the Voss. Just
Nice.
1 week. Too many dailies. Yeah. And finally, let's talk about the Harbinger. It's the only time we're going to really bring this up. Harbinger's been having some problems. On Saturday night, lots of guildmates were online. We decided we were going to do a 16-man story mode Dread Palace. We had the group together. Everyone was actually in the raid. I had just zoned in. I think it was maybe 6 p.m. Pacific or 8 p.m. Pacific, something on Saturday night, and the server crashed. That was very frustrating. I literally had just zoned into Dread Palace and it crashed.
Yeah.
So we waited, I think it was 2 hours. They acknowledged it, they did work on it, finally did come back up. And at that point, I was in an advanced state of inebriation, but we decided to anyway organise a couple of 8-man runs of story mode Dread Palace, and we actually got through it pretty smoothly. Believe it or not, it was a miracle. Yeah, but anyway, yesterday we were in the middle of the Jawa Joyride with Kuze's group. We were doing Terror from Beyond via the Groove Finder, and we were working our way to Operator 9, and the server crashed again.
Right.
So anyway, we waited a little bit. Obviously, it wasn't going to come back anytime soon. It did finally come up in another 1.5 or 2 hours or something. Stayed up for a while. I tried to log in. I was in a 500 place in a queue. The server went down again, came up again. The queues were back. They worked on it again. Finally, the queues were fine, and it's been good since. But once again, the poor Harbinger. It's just terrible. Greg Carter, our guildmate, suggested it might be time to unleash cartel coin compensation. Guru Hypnotoad, our former co-host from the first 100 or so episodes, on SWOTOR in regards to Harbinger downtime. So, Greg, you may have something there. I will be in contact with my Irish friend.
I'm not hopeful. I'm surprised that they haven't given us any compensation for some of the other recent things that have happened.
Well, he was joking, but yeah, agreed. It'd be nice if we got something, but other than that, lots of dailies, lots of hard mode flashpoints. I'm sure there was an extra operation or two in there somewhere. Yeah, just been busy with Conquest mainly, though. Again, with the expansion, etc., which we'll be talking about later. I do wonder how much focus will be on Conquest stuff going forward. Anyway, that's my week. Over to you, Jill.
All right. First, a shout out to the chat room. We got Ben_B55 here. Chesarn is here. Gas Guy is here. Ghost Mirror. Hi Joker. Kranatoko, who does the opening videos on YouTube. Noma. Pez. AC90. Chooch Biggins, Alien D, Eric Z, Justin Lando, Cade Karan, Nepthan, Rikiri, and Sinister Dexter. So hi everyone. And let's see, this week I decided to work on my Power Tech and Vanguard PvP, kind of moving away from the Sentinel. Since my Trooper was level 50, I started him up on McKeb. And how long has it been since I touched his character? He did not have a UI customization, and he was in Kalumi gear. So there you go. It's been a while.
Was he still in the guild, Chill, or had I kicked him out?
Still in the guild. Still in the guild. Okay. It was actually pretty fun. I've been working. I did tanking at first, and then last couple days I've tried a hybrid build, which we'll be talking more about that, which is actually pretty fun. 23-0-23, where the idea is that you can use the leap ability to get near people, the AOE flame burst around you that has multiple effects because you get them from both trees, and then really hard hitting, what's it called? High impact bolts. Good stuff. So yeah.
Enjoy it while you can.
Yeah, so level 50 started off, worked on McKeb like a few days ago, and then the other day I was streaming, and Jay let me know about the fact that the pre-order was letting immediately the huge PvP XP boost, which we'll talk about more. So after finishing up that stream session, I did buy it. Got back in, turned in one. Wasn't really doing the math properly in my head because I was at 40% of the level through 52, and I thought, well, okay, a turn in is usually a few percentage, pretty good chunk. So yeah, let's see how far this gets me to the next level. Blunk, 23% into the next level. So yeah, it's crazy. So crazy leveling. So didn't even get all the way through McKeb. Already ding 55 on the Trooper. I'm not even sure if I should finish it or not, or you know what I mean. So I'm not sure if I'll finish it on him or not. But anyway, now I guess I can do endgame PvP on both of them though, so that's kind of cool. And also, I was in war zones. I've been having when streaming, I've been having pretty bad frame rate issues. It was actually getting to the point where it was getting choppy play and didn't look good, and just was also just hard to play because it was chopping up and getting bad. So I did some optimization based on things I found online. Most of them didn't really have much effect. The one that really did seem to help was using SWTOR Unleashed to create a RAM disk.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Creates a RAM disk, and not a huge frame rate boost just when normally playing, but it really did help in the war zones to keep things sort of under control. So the frame rates would go down, but they would not go down to the point where where I just couldn't play anymore. So
that surprises
actually
me.
works pretty well.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah. Yep. Well, this is while streaming. If I'm playing a Warzone normally, it wasn't an issue.
Right.
But when you add that extra burden of the streaming, causes problems. So, right. So that will bring us on to the tip of the week. We do have a couple, 3 of them. So, Tio, why don't you go ahead and read the first one?
Our first tip is from Twin Manufacturing. Here's one for those of us who are new to the game. If you have a gathering skill, you do not have to be in range of your companion to collect the item. That is, the cursor can be grey, not yellow. Be warned, however, the local denizens will not take kindly to your companion pilfering their belongings. So in other words, you can actually send your companion off to gather something that's out of your personal range, but the companion will aggro mobs if that is done, apparently.
Right. Okay. Yep, that's what I found too, and and it's really fun sometimes to send your companion off really far away, and then even move further away while they're doing it, and it feels really good to be like going somewhere and accomplishing something. Meanwhile, they're just gathering almost out of visual sight. It's pretty sweet.
Chill.
I don't know why I always
play
get
God with crafting mats.
Yeah, exactly. Go and collect that now. Yeah, it's good stuff. All right, second tip from Jay Connell, who's the Jay from who's watched me stream several times and advised me about the fact that the XP boost started right away and stuff like that. So Jay wrote in, I recently changed mouses. Is that right? Or would it be mice? I don't know.
It's a long continued issue.
Yeah. We'll just go the way he has it. I recently changed mouses and found that adjusting to the new button layout just took too long. To speed up my learning curve, I created a map of each keybind on my mouse by using a quick bar that was otherwise unused. I just shaped the quick bar to the shape of the button layout of the mouse and assigned... Oh, hello, everything moved. I just shaped the quick bar to the shape of the button layout of the mouse and assigned each keybind on the mouse to that quick bar. Now I can see each button on my mouse for quick reference. And eventually, once my muscle memory is engraved in the stone, I can disable that quick bar and free the UI space back up. But for now, my map is a nice visual reference to what my thumb can do. I enclosed a screenshot as an example. The map is the 4 columns of 3 in the center.
I'm pretty sure we've had people email in about that particular strategy for doing something along those lines, but yeah, it is a good reminder, and his example is excellent.
That might have been how I had my layout.
Yeah, no, it works great. Just as a visual
exactly
thing.
how I did it. Yeah.
I actually set up something very similar for my Logitech just recently, so yeah, it's a good tip.
All right. Go ahead and read the third one, Teal.
Our third and last tip is from Darth Cathgirl. This is for the 12 times XP that we'll be talking about in a little bit. Use the legacy pilot gear for Treek, but don't upgrade it once it lags behind. Instead, send it to your next toon and break out a new set of legacy pilot gear for Treek and put it in level-appropriate armoring mod enhancement for that. That way, each toon you level will have legacy gear for Treek. So we've had variants on this particular approach, like the way I've set up my particular Treek at endgame is to have a set of legacy gear with which I just switch between all my 55s when I want to use Treek. But yeah, you can do this at various particular important points in leveling and just swap it between all your Treeks, assuming you want to use Treek on all your characters. And as everyone knows, for whenever we got that bonus, I think it was from GSF, we got, and being subscribers when GSF went live, I think it was, or something, we got 4 boxes with each box with a complete set of legacy gear.
Right.
Which Trick can use.
Yep.
It's just a weapon and offhand that you may just have to purchase in other ways.
All right. And by random allotment, the winner is Twin Manufacturing. So congratulations, you're the winner of an M8. Is it M8R3? Yes, M8R3 code, courtesy of BioWare, and a new OotiniCast provided Cartel Market Pack from the latest shipment. And if you'd like a chance to win the same, please send your tips to OotiniCast@gmail.com by next Wednesday. That will bring us to the holofeed. Tio?
Well, we all know what the big news is. We will get to it, obviously. In fact, we'll be splitting into 2 sections when we talk about 3.0 announcement, and the whole disciplines thing we'll cover in our Sarlacc Digest, so don't think we're going to be skipping it. But before we get there, firstly, there was this curious post about Bounty Contract Week objectives, warning that this week there would be conquest objectives associated with Bounty Contract Week, which isn't until 14th to the 21st of October, which is actually next week. And they said, well, you know, you can't complete those objectives because it's not Bounty Contract Week. Funnily enough, if you look at your objectives when it actually went live, there was nothing to do with Bounty Contract Week. So this was all a bit weird. So the only reason I bring it up is there will be, apparently, conquest objectives associated with Bounty Contract Week or any other event perhaps that is going on, which is very, very cool. So
yeah, that is kind of cool. And apparently they managed to pull the bad ones for now.
Somehow, because there was no client-side update, which is good. Next, now this is something Red was going to comment on. Basically, there was a way of getting your, if you complete, I believe it is your class story, you would have access to a class sign deco to put in your stronghold. And Red, do you want to talk through how you actually get it?
Yeah, because I actually got confused and thought it wasn't working. But, okay, first of all, it's not where you think it is. It's not under class or legacy class or your companions or anything. It's actually under, so pull up your legacy window, go under achievements, go under locations, and then general, and then you'll be able to click on each of the achievements for, after general or after location, it's general, and chapter. Chapter 3. Yeah, and so then each of the classes that you've completed, that it will have the achievement. You right-click on the decoration that is part of the achievement reward, but right-clicking on it does not show your number out of 50 change. You actually have to move your mouse off and back on, and you'll see it go up. So you can sit there and right-click on it all day long, and it'll 50 without you seeing that. That's what really confused me. I tried one, and nothing happened. I went to the next one, and nothing happened. And I was like, well, what the heck? And then later, my buddy was like, oh, yeah, I'm getting them. And I'm like, wait a second, what? And I went to try again and realized, oh, wait, I've got 10 out of 50. I've got 10 out of 50. I got 10 out of 50. So trick is right-click until it starts giving you a red warning. You've already got the maximum amount of these.
Or, as someone discovered pretty much straight away when we were testing this, shift right-click will give you all 50. So I did that, and you suddenly 50
even better.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's how you do it. You can do that for any of your classes where you've got completed Chapter 3. So it's under in the Legacy panel, under Achievements, Locations, General, go to Chapter 3, in the Rewards, shift right-click, and that will give you the deco.
Do you think that this will prevent them from being willing to add decoration rewards to achievements outside of PvE in the future? Because right now there's none for PvP and there's none for GSF or even just exploration or things like this. I wonder, if you have to do this because the achievement's already been granted, will they ever add anything to the rest of the game outside of PvE as a reward?
Not retroactively, but they could add new ones, basically. New achievements and associate decos with new achievements, for sure. Retroactively applying them to old achievements, maybe not so much.
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
I think there's a 1,000% chance they do it, mainly because if they don't have anything in a content cycle for PvP or GSF, because you can't always add in content for that, at some point they're going to be like, well, we can give them these amazing decorations that will hold them over for a bit. Because I know that's something that they've done in the past, where it's like, we don't have a new GSF map, but we've got a new bomber.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or a bomber deco now.
And other than the class Act 3 achievements, are there any other ones where you can go into the achievement bars and find a
Not
decoration?
that we're aware of. This was a particular case where we knew the class signs were there, but we couldn't get to them. They weren't apparently available, but it turned out there was a workaround to get them. But not aware of any other such holes.
Yeah, because the ones that we received when achievements came out, those were given to us with that system, but for whatever reason, because originally these didn't even show as rewards for some reason. And then they added them in because you could see them if you went and looked through all of the available decorations in the world. It told you that you got it through achievements, but no one could find them. Then they flagged it, but apparently it couldn't grant when they flagged it. So.
All right, moving on. It's just a quick thing about Stronghold exit location. If you log out, it's supposed to return you to where you'd actually entered your stronghold when you zoned in, but if you then log out while in your stronghold, you log back in, you find yourself exiting back in the default location, which is probably the most annoying possible place on the fleet because, firstly, quick travel, etc. doesn't work, and you can't, which means that you can't actually get back into your stronghold or into the guild ship or anywhere else. It's really annoying, and I really wish they would disable those areas or re-enable quick travel everywhere in spaceports as well as in that area of the fleet. I mean, really, do we really need to prevent it? At this point, it's just painful. If that was okay, it really wouldn't matter. But anyway, they're looking at it because it should actually remember where you were so that you are returned to the correct place after you exit your stronghold using the return to location thing, which is accessible to everyone, not just subscribers. But yeah, it's broken. So, and finally, before we get to the big news, Forged Alliances, a storyline. Someone asked whether they could add a solo version of the 3 tacticals, just so that people, solo players, and they're saying, yeah, actually they're gonna. So, or they're at least thinking about it. And actually, the way they word it sounds like it is going to happen. If it's anything like what they did in, say, Lotro, for example, they had a special buff in Lotro, it's called Inspiration, that made you really powerful so that you could simply blow through it as a solo player instead of doing it as a group. Whether they'll disable the rewards and stuff, yeah, don't know. They could make sure that no tokens or anything drop, but the rewards for tacticals are so lame that I don't think they would bother.
I should mention actually, big discovery I had when I was doing that nightmare content, having never done the hard mode. You get the achievements for doing hard mode by doing nightmare mode, along with all the decorations that come with them. So that was really
I think we discovered
nice.
that ourselves, actually.
Yeah.
At one point, yeah. All right, let's talk about the real news, which is the announcement of the expansion. They said they'd delayed up to a couple of weeks, about a week ago, or before this happened. But yeah, they came in early on US Monday. They announced everything. Shadow of Revan. So we knew about the name, which they'd kind of accidentally revealed.
Right.
Or actually not so accidentally, maybe. And yeah, press releases. We have a trailer.
It's Shadow.
It is most definitely Shadow, singular, of Revan, Shadow of Revan. Okay, so we got the press release. We have a trailer, which is the usual in-game footage thing, and it's excellent. I got the tingles watching it. It's pretty good.
Yeah, it's a great video.
All right, so let's start.
And we get Red Kefis. I'm so excited for Red Masasi Kefis. It's happening.
That wasn't really, was it?
No, it's not really Kefis.
All right,
it's
just
like
checking.
a similar body style. Like, BioWare has this great thing with these really hulked up on steroids animal monsters that are like somewhat bipedal, and I'm just really psyched for it.
So let's do the quick overview of what's in there. This is our next story-driven expansion, the first one we've had since the only other one, The Rise of the Hutt Cartel, which brought us Makeb. So we are getting another 5 levels. That will take the new level cap to level 60, which is pretty much what we all had guessed or been told at some point. There are 2 new planets. 2 planets instead of just the one that we got, which was McKeb.
Yeah,
So
that
we are
was
getting,
actually the thing that excited me the most, right there. 2 planets. I'm really
of
excited by
course,
that.
we don't know how big they are. The 2 planets are Rishi and Yavin 4. So
Woo!
Rishi is, if you look at the lore, the entry point to the Rishi maze. It's also got, which is itself apparently a, what do they call it? A dwarf galaxy? That's actually orbiting the Star Wars universe.
Is that the one
Galaxy
that
or something
Luke looks
along
out
those lines.
in episode, is it 4 or 5, when he looks out the window and sees that?
No.
Oh,
No,
okay.
that's actually a misconception. That galaxy which you're looking at the end of Empire Strikes Back is actually the Star Wars galaxy. Even though, yes, it means they're a long way away from it.
Wow,
I did
they
look
got
that
way
up.
outside
George
the
Lucas
galaxy.
confirmed that.
Yeah.
Cool, okay.
They did indeed. So anyway, Rishi Maze. It's been mentioned in the expanded universe stuff. Some we don't know a lot about it. So why they pick Rishi, who the hell knows? Darth Wicked, who's quite active on the official forums and on Reddit, had this interesting theory about a third device along with the Starforge and the Foundry, which are used to create galaxies or stars and things like that. And so maybe, but anyway.
And we might as well go ahead and
who knows?
correct BioWare and let them know that Yavin 4 is a moon around a gas giant. Just saying.
Yes. So that's true. All right. So Pluto's not a planet. Yavin 4 isn't a planet because it's not orbiting the sun. It's orbiting another planet.
Exactly.
Whatever. So Yavin 4, clearly, obviously well known for its appearance in Episode 4, A New Hope, where that was where the Rebel base was, where the Death Star was going to blow it up before. You know what happens there, obviously.
Spoilers.
But Yavin 4 has also featured quite extensively in Expanded Universe lore and in SWTOR's own lore. We won't go too much into the detail there, but it is basically well known as a really strong dark side location, thanks to...
Included in Clone Wars at all? Do you know?
Oh, don't know. No.
I'm going
I
to
mean,
need to
it's-
rewatch Clone Wars.
All right. So probably one of the most interesting things to know about it, it is the home of the Massassi, who are themselves a subspecies of the pure blood Sith, which were relocated there by Naga Sadow at roughly the time of the Great Hyperspace War, which predated this current thing by about, well, actually, the current day in SWTOR by about 1,300 years-ish. There's a whole lot of lore associated with that, and we're going to be... I've been researching this for our spoiler cast, so yeah. Anyway, there's a lot there. Yavin 4, strong in the dark side. The Massassi are there, still there. They've been kind of mutated through Sith alchemy and other magic, whatever.
Can't wait.
So they don't really look like Sith anymore, but anyway.
That's going to be fun.
Very, very dark side.
Forests and giant pyramids, and it's a really awesome planet.
Temples. Yep. Temples to the
Yep,
dark side.
temples.
So, yeah, why they're going there, what that has to do with Revan, etc., who knows? Anyway, also, we should probably bring up at this point, this is Revan and the Revanites, even though that was kind of a sort of a spoiler from the Forge Alliance's storyline, it's all over everything, all their messaging now, so it's a bit hard to sort of not talk about it. So
Not to mention, they seem to be, like, even in this video footage and all of this information they're putting out there, it's like they're almost making it 100%. This is Revan people. This is not some secondary faker or whatever. It seems to really definitely be Revan.
Yes. Yeah, pretty much, but Revan and... How does the Emperor play into all this?
Yeah.
See. Anyway, moving on. Disciplines. That is something we'll talk about in our Sarlacc Digest. Basically, no more skill trees. We get this instead. And we'll talk about that. 2 new role-neutral flashpoints. Interesting, though, not calling them tacticals, but that's effectively what they are. So 2 more of them, 4 hard mode flashpoints, and 2 level 60 operations.
Thank God.
Yeah,
Yes.
excellent.
So there's not much to say on that because we don't know anything. The wording in all of their stuff implies that those tacticals and the hard modes are actually new. They're not upgraded versions of old stuff. It's hard to say. They could be
thought
like
so?
upgraded versions.
I really got the
new.
impression that the 4 new hard modes were the 4 tacticals from the story arc leading into the expansion. Kaon, Tython, Manon, and Rakata Prime.
You mean
Seems totally
Korriban?
natural. Yeah, Korriban.
Maybe, but they just talk about new stuff. But you could be right. We don't know. We'll find out, no doubt.
What I find more interesting is that they're coming out with 2 tacticals without hard mode versions of them. Like, weird.
Indeed. All right, so it's available right now for pre-order for $19.99 US. That is for subscribers and free-to-play and preferred. Unlike McKeb, now when McKeb was available, it also cost $20 for free and preferred, but subs got it for $10. So now this time it will be $20 for everyone. Now, what you get for your $20 is, once it actually goes live, you will have access to 55 to 60. That's the only way to access that content, including the new planets, etc., etc. So if you don't level 55, you will get Game Update 3.0. Obviously, that will go live with the expansion. We should talk about the date on 9 December. 9th December. That's when it will be available for everyone. If you pre-order before 2nd November, you will have 7 days of early access. You'll get access on the 2nd of December.
Very nice.
So, yes, I was wrong about my prediction of the date. I thought it would be the 23rd, so it was 2 weeks earlier than that. So they've left it towards the end of the year.
We were all wrong.
Well, yeah, it's not too far off, but yeah, I guess we're glad that they left a little bit of breathing room between the release and Christmas. Now, let's talk about pre-order bonuses. So if you do pre-order before November 2nd, as well as the 7 days of early access, you will get a grand statue of Revan. They will actually also get that if you pre-order after November 2nd and before December 1st. And that is just a huge deco. There's a picture of it. You stick it in that, apparently, the large slot in your stronghold, and it's huge.
Very cool.
I guess I can't imagine anything worse than a big statue of Revan in my stronghold. But I'm sure some people will go for it.
Well,
Seems contrary to me, but okay. Especially since
Whatever.
everybody's going to have it.
Indeed. You get the previous expansion, Rise of the Hutt Cartel. If you haven't bought it already, of course, if you're subscribed, you had access to it just while you're subscribed. That will still happen after this goes live. But yeah, so you don't have to buy it if you're free or preferred.
I see.
But the most exciting thing, and the thing that is a subscriber-only bonus, and presumably why they delayed this announcement, was the limited time class XP boost. Now, what this does is give you a 12.32 multiplier to all XP received from class missions and the main arc on McKeb.
Yes.
The idea is that you can level from 1 to 55 by doing class missions only. That gets you to roughly 50, and then on McKeb, you just do the main storyline, just ignoring all side quests. That will get you the rest of the way to 55.
And really quickly. Holy cow.
Yeah. I believe, Justin, you were saying that you got there within 24 hours play, or was it less?
It was far less than 24 hours play. I was done in about 13, and I'm incredibly slow and leveled the power tech as a tank. A few friends of mine in my guild leveled them in 10 hours, and the shortest I've seen was on Reddit. There was a player that leveled his assassin 1 to 55 in 8 hours and 47 minutes or so.
Whew. That is
Crazy.
cool.
Impressive. Now,
No need
have
to
we
learn
heard-
your class. Just do your class
Yeah,
story.
you probably won't. Yeah, barely stopping to maybe grab crew missions, and even then, you probably not. Holy cow!
Well,
Have
back
people got some
about the
good strategies
classes.
for dealing with the lack of gear? The fact that you're leveling far too fast to earn enough planetary accommodations
Treat,
to actually get
treat.
at low levels. That works great because of if you've got a lot of presence, particularly. But I suppose you can always craft stuff if you need to.
If
Yeah,
you
or you
don't
have
have
alts
gear,
and
I'll
you
say
have
that you
alts
are
and
going to
stuff.
learn your class much faster because you will have to use your cooldowns instead of just tunneling through everything. Once you get to
Right.
McKeb, though, the worse your gear is, the bigger your bolster, and I found myself at level 47 soloing champions without touching cooldowns.
That's true. Your gear is bolstered to rating 156 as soon as you step foot on McKeb and use one of those gadgets to give you the buff. So once you're at McKeb, no problem. But you're getting through those levels very quickly, 1 to 50.
I found no problem getting enough planetary comms with like near 10 levels that I did.
Okay.
What I did was I only chose 4 pieces and then had enough planetary comms to keep those upgraded
Alright.
and didn't worry about the rest. You know, occasionally you'll get a drop, throw it in when it happens.
Right.
And
Okay.
I may have to look at my characters that are 55 and see if it's possible for me to just get one of every advanced class. I'm pretty much at the point now
That's
where I
my
have
goal.
more or less everything of either one or the other, of the mirror classes, but I don't necessarily have one of every class. So
My goal for this is to level 3 more Marauders to 55, just to have 4 of them, and then I'll probably be done. I made my PT, so I'm going to learn to tank, so people are going to enjoy me failing on a massive scale, but I also need something that's fun. I really enjoy Marauders, so I'm going to make it like... I want eventually, not right now, I want an entire character screen of Marauders, and I want them all to have derivative names.
Okay. Why not? Oh, just a few more words about Rishi, a dangerous pirate haven at the edge of the galaxy. Should just
cool.
include that.
So lots of pirates.
Now, sorry, back to the 12 times XP boost. It will become active once you've pre-ordered. If you pre-order while you're currently logged in, you will have to log out and log back in again. But it's active on all your characters. You will not see a buff. You will only effectively see it when you bring up the rewards window. For your current class mission, you'll see the massive increase in XP. This is effective through to December 1st. Or is it December 2nd? This is effective through to December 1st, which means that this is limited time, so we're not going to have this forever. So if you want to level those characters quickly, and I believe it was suggested that you can, this was by the Enmity podcast guys, this is a great time to level a character on another server. Just get a quick 55, like on Jedi Covenant. If we wanted to join the other podcasters for some podcasting operations, this would be a great time to get a character up there. Very, very, very quickly. Of course, you don't have your support network of your characters, but still worth doing. Yeah. So what do we all think? Is that as a subscriber perk?
Very cool. It's also going to give me a chance to see a few of the class stories from another point of view by doing dark side instead of light side, or vice versa.
Indeed. Yep.
So I'm looking forward to that.
I do wish there was a way to switch it off. So yeah, if I
For
do want a slow level, it'd be nice if I could. But I could have delayed pre-ordering, but I do want to take advantage of it on other characters. Just be nice to be able to switch it off.
Yeah, you just have to put it aside till early December.
Yeah, I can live with that.
I think the best thing about this system is that we finally have a way to level the way that BioWare wants us to see the content, as opposed to, even though they like it, spamming Kuat. I made a character and leveled it 1 to 55, only doing Kuat. It was terrible. It was the worst experience. I didn't want to log in the next day. But being able to do the class story, I have had more fun in the last 2 days just like grinding it out quickly on my power tech than I've had leveling any character in a long time. So I think it was a pretty deft move for them to let us go back to the content they really put their money into.
Fair enough.
Very good.
So can I sum up here? If you pre-order before the 2nd, what you get is 7 days early access, an XP boost, and a decoration.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I know it's not.
I mean, I know some of it like sounds fun, and there's a way that you can talk about it all day long, and yeah, you can totally level super fast and everything, but that's what you get. The early access is really the only thing that really matters. And the worst part is that's only if you order by November 2nd. If you order after November 2nd, you get a decoration.
Indeed.
I mean, something's missing in the pre-order perks. Like,
Oh yeah. Right. And if you happen to not have Hut Cartel, then you'll get that too. So.
True.
Yeah. Although, you might as well.
It does
I mean,
seem a little strange.
right. I don't unless someone just didn't know, didn't hear about it or whatever, is just new to the game. I don't know why you wouldn't grab it right away. There's not going to be a price difference or anything. So.
Yeah, though it is worth noting that the Hut Cartel did eventually become free for subscribers after some number of months. Who the hell would
6 months or
wait?
so?
Some people might. Yeah, it was a long time.
yeah, it was
Yeah.
6 months. Yeah.
I wouldn't wait, personally. In fact, I
No.
didn't. So, obviously, yeah, I just do it. Otherwise, you're going to be stuck at 55, and
Right.
that would suck.
Well, I actually noticed if you look at, I know you were going to talk about disciplines later, but if you didn't get Rise of the Hut Cartel at level 50, you still had your capstone ability in your skill tree. And if you look at the live stream BioWare did for their discipline system, the capstone ability that you get just straight through leveling is at 57. So if you actually don't get the new expansion, you won't have your top tier ability for your special or for your discipline. So it'll actually hurt you more just to not pre-order or at least get this expansion than it did for Hut Cartel.
Yeah, good point. Though there were the cool new abilities of 51, which weren't capstone, but which were cool anyway, that you missed out on. But anyway,
Yeah.
good point.
I mean, that's the thing. At the end of the day, yes, you could wait. It's going to be free eventually, I'm sure. But if you want to do any form of endgame at all whatsoever, you're not going to be able to do it.
All right, so on the subject of the storyline, because again, we will have 5 new levels of content to level through, which is actually kind of exciting. This is the first real new sort of mission-based story that we've had, aside from the tacticals. There is one singular storyline. This is what BioWare said. One singular storyline, which is being told from 2 different sides, as player characters of both factions have the same goals in the storyline, as in Forged Alliances. So basically the same story, but told from the 2 perspectives, Empire and Republic. Additionally, each player class will be given 1 unique class story mission as part of the storyline, and these are entirely different from one another. So, while we do not have an extension of our class stories, they have gone at least as far as having 1 mission that is class specific. So, it's something.
It's better than an email, so I'm happy.
Do you think that one
it's not
mission
an-
is? Do you think that one mission is actually tied into the planetary storyline, where you reach a
Yes.
point and you pick it up and it's just class, and then brings you back together?
The way they've worded it as part of the storyline is it will just be a key part of the chain, and then at that one point, everyone will branch out and then come back together again.
Cool.
Is my impression.
See, I would really
that's-
like to see that, say the next expansion to be expanded even further, because it'd be really cool to be like, all right, side JAG, your class storyline has you doing this while simultaneously, you could even be doing it as a group, and then all of a sudden you guys got to split off and do different things simultaneously and bring back together. It opens up a little bit more of a depth to the storytelling options, I think.
True. Now, it was asked whether there'd be cross-faction raiding for the new raids, because, we forged this alliance, so it is Republic and Empire together again, fighting the Revenites. And the answer was, although the Empire and Republic may have a common enemy, they will not be able to group together for operations or flashpoints. You didn't see it, but as soon as the video wrapped, Satil punched Ma right in the face. That was from Moscow. It's pretty funny. But that's your sense. It's the same thing. Republic and Empire, still separate, but we're just temporarily working together against
Did
the
people
common
really think
enemy.
that this would be cross-faction? I mean, seriously?
No, I'm sure it was a vain hope, but
I don't think that, at least no one that I knew assumed it would be cross-faction, but there was a hope at some sort of wall of crazy where it was like, there's not really a population problem in this game overall, but some servers have factions that are completely dead. Like, for instance, on Prophecy of the Five, Harbinger is very small. Not Harbinger, the pub side is very small and it's very contracted, whereas on Harbinger, pub side is very healthy. And on servers where one faction is extremely more popular than the other faction, it was a situation where it was like, for those people that are in small factions, they could at least rage with people on their server. There was a hope for that in some circles, but I don't think anyone should have expected cross-faction. I think what more people are going to hope for is that they later on are like, all right, at 3.0 you're not going to have it, but at some point we'd like you to have cross-server queue raids. I'd be fine with that, but I don't think it's something we can hope for.
I mean, you can't. How would you invite each other, for one thing? And how would you talk to each other? Would you have to use /say the whole time? I mean,
they would. You could add the actual technical side to that. It wouldn't be that painful, but actually, it would be painful. But they could do it. But it's not going to happen, so let's not worry about it.
Yeah, I think that's.
We know that part of the reason is simply because they want it to feel like Sith versus Republic. They want to keep that. So
there's a really good law-based reason to keep this separate. So
yeah, exactly.
Well,
so
frankly, it's just a bad idea. I'm surprised anybody even wanted it.
All right. We also get to unlock new gear and reputation rewards, earn powerful new Revanite gear. That's the name of the new gear set, presumably. Crafting schematics and new mounts, including armored vehicle transports. Take that as you will. Armored vehicle transports. This is just big, bulky speeders or something else.
Yeah, good question.
Passenger speeders, maybe?
Are they going to completely block people from the mailboxes on Fleet at this point?
Yeah. Anyway, game update 3.0, which will include the discipline system, and whatever other system updates will go live on 2nd December, along with the beginning of early access. And if you didn't pre-order by the appropriate time, everyone else will get access on 9 December, 7 days later.
Why are they totally... Right. So they're giving us a decoration of the ultimate, enemy at this stage, as far as we can tell. They're going to give us Revan. And then they're touting, hey, you can earn new powerful Revanite gear, so we're going to be dressing like the enemy. I'm really confused why everything... Do we want to take him down, or do we want to join his forces? Granted, I actually do want to join his forces, but that's not an option. Why? I don't need to dress like him if I'm not supposed to be like him.
Well, there's nothing about it.
It's kind of like the Nightmare gear now is called Dreadmaster, and you're in an operation to kill the Dreadmasters. I think it's more just a thematic thing than, you will dress like a Revanite because we're really cool like that.
No, we're killing them and taking their stuff. Basically.
That's right, we're looting their body and taking their gear.
And wearing their stuff, yes.
Give me a necklace of ears and I'll be happy.
Yeah, just from the wording of the press release and stuff, it's pretty clear we are fighting Revan and his Revanites, so that has become painfully clear at this point. A few other bits and bobs. We covered pretty much everything about the XP boost already. Oh, also, the cost of your abilities. You'll notice as you're leveling that when you go to train, they're free, at least for subscribers. So that was apparently intended because they want to compensate people for the low credit intake. You were doing far less missions than you would otherwise and be earning far less credits. Of course, we've all got a ton of credits on other characters, but just in case you don't.
Yeah, you could easily get to the point where you just could not afford any of your abilities.
Exactly,
so.
And that'll be welcome if I level on a new server, for example, where I've got nothing.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, come to think of it, that's another good reason to be able to start on a new server.
So, that's pretty much all we know so far about 3.0, aside from disciplines, which we'll go through. The question was asked, what about PvP, or PvPers, in 3.0? So, they said, new content, such as Warzone or Arena maps, the answer is no. There are no new maps specific to PvP coming in the expansion, so that's pretty definitive. And changes coming to PvP, the answer is a resounding yes. Disciplines by itself, they're saying, will entirely change the landscape of class and PvP in 3.0. They will begin Season 4 of ranked play shortly thereafter. Host of other global combat changes coming. We'll talk about those later, and damn, they are changing things up, for sure. So, no new actual content in terms of maps for PvP, but the whole combat system's going up in the air anyway. So,
I mean, this is, just read it this way. One of the recent community cantinas, we were told that they are working on PvP content. thoughts of even a new game mode coming. It is not coming with the expansion. As with every single expansion in the history of man, when you have a raised level cap and new abilities being added, PvP will be affected. Shocking.
Yes.
Nevertheless,
Yeah.
no, there's no content coming with 3.0 for space or ground.
So let's talk about space. Galactic Starfighter, again, the answer is there aren't going to be any new maps or ships for Galactic Starfighter in 3.0. However, they are actually changing something with GSF in that the requisition curve, in that the rate at which you earn requisition rewards is being reasonably significantly increased. Yeah, it's around 25%, 50%, depending on what it is. And the reasoning for that is they've discovered that for new players hopping in, it turns out that they earn requisition too slowly to be effective against veteran players who have obviously maxed out everything at this point. And so they're hoping that they will encourage other players to join GSF who currently don't bother. So yeah, no new maps, no new ships, but if you do play GSF with 3.0, this isn't effective yet, you'll be able to level up your ships that much quicker.
Well, and they were pretty quick to say that all of those numbers are also subject to change before live.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, no love, so to speak, for PvP or Galactic Starfighter in 3.0 directly, but I suspect the new maps will come sometime after 3.0.
Right.
Remember, it's been a long, long time since we've had any new operations. Far longer than since we've had new Galactic Starfighter stuff. In fact, Galactic Starfighter itself and maps in PvP.
Yeah, Galactic Starfighter got the most attention this year in general, honestly.
Yeah.
Don't expect anything for Galactic Starfighter for quite a while, though, because that was the other thing that we heard was that they had nothing that they were even working on for GSF.
Yeah.
And the last we heard of anything that they were working on, they said was indefinitely postponed. So PvP stuff probably will be coming, a month or two after the expansion, I'd expect.
Now, it is worth noting that the changes with disciplines has completely effectively revamped the combat system in a good way, and I suspect we will see the benefit of that going forward in terms of the rate and rapidity of other stuff. So we'll talk more about that, but I think it's an investment. They have spent a lot of time doing what they're doing with disciplines, and this will actually pay forward, and we will get more stuff more quickly in the future. But for 3.0, yeah, nothing new. All right, let's talk about 3.0 on the public test server, on the PTS. Musco did post about this on the forums, and he did talk about it on the live stream. So there will be a public test server, PTS, for the Shadow of Revan. However, unlike with Makeb, it will never be open. It will be closed all the way through to actual launch. Now, in terms of who's going to be on the closed PTS, they will be randomly inviting players, just like they did with the original beta and stuff, and they will be inviting certain people, groups, in his words. He talked about it more on the live stream as well. They're going to try and cover all the bases in terms of very casual players, hardcore PvP, progression operations, etc. So once the closed PTS goes live, in a week or two, those guys will get on and start testing. So yeah, but no open PTS, but you do have a chance of being invited to join in.
Okay.
All right, a bit of community news briefly. Community Cantina is Thursday evening, which is probably after you hear this show, in New York City. Gadok Teague of the Unnamed SWOTOR podcast, as JD, will actually be there. He's been collecting questions, so, well, given the Shadow of Revan announcement, there will no doubt be a whole lot of stuff to talk about, and maybe some interesting stuff come out of the Q&A, just a few more details fleshed out. And who knows what will be on the flash drive. So maybe a bunch of new images from the operations, maybe, the flashpoints, maybe. Who knows? So we'll look forward to that. Thanks to Grim, listener Grim, and Scott Thomas for their donations to the show. So thank you guys. Just throw that in there. And finally, in community news, as we talked about last week, Snave former class representative, is going to hold his live stream with community manager Eric Musco on the 15th of October at 7 p.m. UK time, which is Wednesdays 1 p.m. Central Daylight Time and Thursday 4 a.m. for us in Australia. So yes, again, well worth watching. I'll include the link to Snave's Twitch channel. Anyway, that's news.
All right, excellent. That'll bring us to the force feedback where we read out your tweets and emails. And chat room, if you have any questions to ask, Red will be gathering them now to ask once we're done with the feedback. And we'll start off with a tweet from Mark_Swotor. Thanks to OotiniCast for sharing my pain with the audience. Recovery is proceeding apace. Yeah. What is that a reference to again?
He's a guy who lost his first tab of crafting materials from his
That was
storage.
painful. Oh, man. Okay, yep. And Turg wrote in, I put my set bonus armor rings in legacy gear, and the set bonus disappeared on the opposite faction. What the heck? Logged out and back in, and the set bonus is now visible. Glitch in the matrix?
Yes, so Red had the same thing, the same effect. This was purely a visual bug. It was confirmed by BioWare. Your set bonus never actually disappeared. It was there the whole time. It just wasn't showing up when you hovered over it. So it was just a tooltip glitch.
Yeah, I actually used the legacy, saw it, freaked out, put it back in the legacy bank, went back to the character that originally had it, and then put it back onto that character, and it showed back up, which is weird. And so then I put it in the mail and mailed it to myself and didn't have it. So
yeah, you
I've had
never
that
actually
happen
lost
to
it.
me as well.
Pure
Only
visual.
it wasn't utilizing the legacy bank. It was during DP Nightmare Progression. We hadn't killed Council yet, and I got boots or something, and I took out the armoring from the boots, put it into my legacy armoring of my boots. All of a sudden, I had no set bonus when I looked at myself. I thought that I had destroyed a 186 armoring, so I freak out. I'm sending in a ticket, like begging customer service to fix my own mistake. Log out, log back in, everything's fine. I worried for nothing.
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay.
So if that happens to you, that's what's going on.
All right. Greg Carter wrote in, 21k conquest on EV1s this week. Not bad, with 2 bung hands and very little playtime.
Greg has a bad case of tendinitis, so wishing you the best, Greg. Apparently the treatment is looking very positive, so you should be right.
All right. Dr. Spadinsky wrote in, really excited about the expansion, but is there no new race?
Now, Turk responded, what happened to adding races for cartel coins? Didn't they tease one ages ago? And he talked about us speculating, and Dr. Spadinsky did respond by saying that MMORPG.com quoted BioWare saying they were working on a race more alien than Cathar, but less alien than Twi'lek. And yeah, we have talked about that previously, and yeah, not a word. They could sneak one in, I guess, for 3.0, but no hint. So I'm guessing not at this point.
Must have been
But sometime after.
backburnered. Yeah, probably with like strongholds and all that stuff, and the expansion has probably been backburnered like so many other things. War zones. Rub wrote in, just had the best PvP arena match ever, winning 2v3 against us at the start of the match. They wipe the other player, and I disappeared. The two teams filled up, but then I waited until the gas cloud at the end timer to push all 3 into the cloud. I used my defensive cooldown and got the first victory. Then, both having full teams, we wiped the arena clean. The other team were so pissed due to the first round win by me. Best ever.
Nice.
That
Nice
is
story,
pretty
Rob.
sweet.
Yeah.
That's a pretty good combination of abilities on Shadows that you can do that, because they do have the knockback, they do have the stealth. So, and stealth, when you have like one opponent who stealths away, it's always annoying in an arena trying to track them down. Mikhail wrote, with the expansion announcement, now is the time to level all your alts and then get your crew skills on the correct classes. There you go.
Suppose, if you
One way
must.
to do it.
Yeah, I don't know if I want to
do it.
level any more all my crafting professions again, though.
Yeah, if I do crafting for that during the super speedy leveling, it'll probably be gathering so that I can like also level by doing things in the field to keep things from going, getting completely behind all that.
Mhm.
So, all right. At Descartes wrote, waiting for BioWare to troll us all and be. Hang on.
By releasing teaser footage.
Okay. That's what that. Okay. Descartes wrote, waiting for BioWare to troll us all by releasing teaser footage showing Kephis in both new operations.
Kephis is love, Kephis is life.
Yeah, God. Or maybe a Musashi that just happens to look a bit like Kephis. Or something. Who knows?
I guess you guys are only referencing the Kephis in Dread Fortress, or TFB, huh? Because in Explosive Conflict, he looked totally different.
Yeah, but
That's
it's
still
still
Kephis,
Kephis.
Well, true.
Yeah,
So
he just got
this
really
red Kephis
swole.
doesn't need to look like Kephis. He can still be Kephis
He's
and
the
look totally
eternal
different.
boss.
Anyway.
All right, Hru wrote in, with the introduction of the buff on McKeb, there are now GSI satellites on the McKeb orbital stations that act as clickable lore objects, awarding a codex entry with some game milieu fiction to explain how and why they work. An attached pic shows the one on the Republic orbital station. The Imperial one is a darker colored version and located a bit further back in the hangar near the basic gear vendors. I subsequently discovered that they've popped up all over McKeb, usually near the mission terminals and flight points, and you click the object to apply the buff to your tune. That's correct.
Yeah, we were wondering about
also
that.
you
We
do-
thought it would just apply as soon as you entered McKeb, but no, you do have to click it to get the actual buff.
Right, and I found that the buff does not persist through death, so if you do a war zone, come back, it'll be gone, or if you just happen to die out in the field, it'll also be gone. I did die once. Yeah, I did die once in the field, so I was trying to run past 2 golds, and I managed to get them and a group of regulars with a silver as well. Yeah, so it was pretty dumb, but whatever. Yep. So click it to get the buff, and boy, it's a big one. Like you'll notice your health bar goes down. It like empties out 20% because you got all this new endurance.
Yep.
Catalyst wrote in, founder of the Shadow Legion community on the Shadowlands server, and there's a website, theshadowlegion.net. We should be given 24 hours to make Conquest Invasion locations choices each week. There are many people who have real-life commitments, like full-time jobs and school, and are being asked to log in early in the morning, 8 a.m. Eastern, to accomplish this task. We need to be able to make this choice ahead of time. They could lock in the location choices for a certain amount of time, say 1 to 3 days. So why was this functionality not included with the event?
Good question. Personally, I have to stay up 10 p.m., which isn't that bad, really, each night to make sure I'm around. If there's maintenance, it could be like midnight or 1 a.m., which is a little more painful for me personally. But yeah, it would be fantastic if they could let you have the next a day, even just 24 hours, to actually see what the objectives are, choose your planet, lock it in, and then go. That would be great.
The
That makes a
irony
lot of
is
sense.
that during the day of rest, if you could actually queue it up to auto move your ship once the day of rest is over, done.
All you need to do is invade. You can do that. You don't have to move your ship or anything. I mean, it's just that invasion decision, which is the key thing.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Yeah.
It's a really good idea, and I hope they figure out a way to do that, actually. Right. Gas Guy wrote in, hello, coders. Has it been a while since you've done any of the daily quests in the Black Hole or Section X? If so, you might want to travel to them and run some of the daily quests so you can acquire either of the 2 new location codexes. Appropriately enough, they are named Section X and Black Hole. Good hunting. Very nice. And Gas Guy also wrote back, can you discuss for a moment a point about strongholds? I was under the impression prior to rollout that when you place achievement decorations in your stronghold, that when another player visited your place, that not only could they simply view the decoration, but there would also be information/data associated with the decoration. So if you, as a visitor, clicked or hovered over a painting of a dead boss, for example, it would describe the name of the decoration, the achievement you had to do it, and so on. For example, kill 1,000 level 5 smugglers with a kick to the groin or whatever. But when I visit a stronghold,
Awesome.
there's all this cool stuff, but I have no idea what they are or what the player did to get them. It seems to me this loses one of the whole points of the decorations in order to display your accomplishments, or am I wrong?
I wish you were. Does anyone know the solution to this? Because I've observed exactly the same thing. Unless you have the ability to decorate, such as in your guild ship with a gold key, you can't see any information about any of the decorations. Decos.
Yeah.
No,
that are
they
actually
keep
the boss.
talking about it, and everybody's been asking for it. They say that right now there's no way. I think that they should. It doesn't. I don't know what the coding involved would be, but it seems that you ought to be able to hit the edit button. If it's not you can't edit it, you can still hit the edit button and click on an object just to see what it is.
Yeah, that would.
In read-only mode or something.
That might be
yeah.
the only technical way to get it done. Yeah.
Because
Or have a
you know,
tooltip. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Right,
Well,
or
it
maybe
could
a
also
button
work
for.
like in Kuat when you have the when you're doing the Starship Builder, where you hover over the data pad and it gives you a little information text. They could give you that. I don't see how that couldn't work for Strongholds.
That would make each deco a select they how they change color as you hover your mouse over them or
Hoverable
whatever,
object.
which would maybe look visually a bit icky. About the only reason they
Right.
didn't do it, I
Maybe
could
that
think
could
of.
be something you could turn on and off, though. I don't know, like a
Yeah.
like a toggle. So you could turn that on to check stuff out, and then turn it back off when you just want to
Or,
experience it as an apartment.
as Red said, probably the best idea is instead of edit mode, it could have like a view button or something like that. Just changes to view instead of edit if you
Essentially.
don't have edit rights, and then exactly as you
Yeah.
said.
It seems like it should be doable. It's a question of do they have time?
Indeed.
All right. Ghoster wrote, is there a cap on the total number of accounts or characters in a guild?
Yes, there is, and we're running into it constantly. You can have 500 characters in a guild, not accounts, characters.
Right.
And this is presumably some reason for something in terms of performance, or that's what they've said previously. If they changed it to 500 accounts, it'd be fantastic. So no matter how many alts you had in the guild, it's just limited to 500 accounts, because clearly you're not going to have more than 500 accounts on simultaneously, but if you've got 500 characters, there could be like 100 accounts. So where is the actual limit here? Maybe it's just the guild listing. If you had, obviously, 500 accounts, you could have 500 times 22, worst case, characters for every member. That could be a really, really, really big list, but...
10,000, 12,000 characters.
Exactly. So for now, and there's no hint they're going to ever change this, it is 500 characters in the guild.
Right. Okay, great. That will bring us to the Sarlacc Digest, where we go over the issues for 1,000 years. And of course, we learned about disciplines from the SWTOR stream the other day, and we're going to go over all of that. Teal, why don't you go ahead and start us off?
So, yeah, a major overhaul to the class system that will go live with Game Update 3.0 on the 2nd of December. There is a blog in addition to the live stream that Chill mentioned. The live stream featured David Demery, class and combat designer, as well as Eric Musco. So, firstly, let's talk about what it is, and then we'll talk about why they did it. So it is essentially a replacement for skill trees.
Yes.
So at the moment, you bring up your skill tree. For each advanced class, you will have three trees, 3 skill trees. You have 50 points to spend or whatever, and you can put points typically into one of those trees. You'll have usually a few points left over. You can put them in the other 2 trees or one of the other trees. And that defines, as you put in points, they add a bunch of passives and a few active abilities. So that's how skill trees work now. Instead, what they're going to do is replace that entirely with a new window, combat proficiencies or whatever they're calling it, with your skills, where after you have chosen your advanced class, so the advanced class part doesn't change, you'll, instead of having a skill tree, you will have a choice of 3 disciplines. Now, it's worth noting that currently with advanced classes, there was a shared tree, for example, with sorcerers and assassins. They had the madness skill tree in common. With the introduction of disciplines, they're sort of breaking that. At the moment, the playstyle won't really change, but they're renaming it. For example, it's going to be hatred for assassins instead of madness. So that particular discipline, at the moment, all of the disciplines will basically map from what the skill tree is into a discipline. So instead of the 3 skill trees, you'll have 3 disciplines for each advanced class. But yeah, that shared one won't be as shared anymore. So I suspect that from going forward, they're going to be more or less properly differentiated. So you'll have 3 disciplines, playstyles, if you like, for each advanced class. These will be, in terms of playstyle, according to BioWare, roughly the same. So if you're playing a Madness Sork right now, the overpowered one, or a Balance Sage, the playstyle will be roughly the same. That should be the same for all of them. However, they are making quite a few changes. Some really cool stuff, in fact, into part of this upgrade. But to get back to the specifics, instead of a skill tree where you put in points, instead you're going to have a discipline path. So you choose your discipline, and these will be switchable. You can just change to a different discipline if you choose. You'll have a single discipline path where you don't have to decide anything. Basically, you level up. If you level 60 at the new cap, you'll have fully populated your discipline path. As the path progresses through levels, you get passives activated. There are 4 active abilities all the way up to level 57. That's your last active. That will grant you 4 active abilities in addition to a whole bunch of passive stuff. You don't have to. There's no choices to make as far as your discipline path goes. Once you're at level 60, you'll have your 4 actives. All of the passives will be active. Done.
Right.
However, you do actually have some choice. On the other side of the panel, you have your utilities. These are points that you spend across 3 different tiers, and those 3 tiers are called, I made a note of it somewhere, the 3 utility levels are called Skillful, Masterful, and Heroic. Anyway, as you progress through your discipline path, in addition to your passive and those 4 active abilities, you will find these little symbols which indicate that you have gained another utility point. Once you have reached level 60, you will have 7 points to spend. Now, the way this works with your utility trees, with the utilities, and it looks like there are 7 in each of the tiers, obviously work in progress, etc., so that may change. You can spend 3 points. Once you spend 3 points in the first tier, you can then spend subsequent points in the second tier, or you can put them in the first tier as well. And then you can put points in the third tier once you spent at least 5 utility points.
Anywhere.
And then you have the choice of putting the last 2 anywhere. So,
right. So you do 5 in the first tier, and then jump and put 2 in the very last tier, and not
exactly. Or you could put all 7 points in the first tier if you so desired, but you really don't want to do that. Now, with these utilities, it's worth noting none of them actually add any abilities. They are simply ways of affecting everything that you do currently. And these are equivalent to various choices you could have made in your skill trees for the most part.
Yes, a lot of them will look familiar, like the 20% boost to the Sorcerer's Shield, stuff like that.
And one of the really cool things is they focused entirely during the live stream on Sorks, and obviously the equivalent for Sages. On Sorks, there are certain abilities, one for each discipline, which you can cast on the move. And for healing Sorks, the Corruption discipline, you can actually cast Innovate, or their equivalent, on the move, which is really cool.
Right.
And
I noticed that what they did is they made it so that all 3 of the abilities that you can now do on the move are also the ones that are actually tied to the tree. So you're really only getting one of the 3 abilities, and it's just based on whichever one you happen to choose. You're not going to get 2 or 3 new mobile abilities. You're only going to get the one.
Correct. In effect, yeah. So, what else? you guys want to comment on that so far?
On the utilities, I'm really excited because one of the sort of limiting factors I've noticed with Nightmare Operations is that you tend to see groups set in a way where, like for instance, Brontes pre-nerf, almost every guild was 16-man, 8-man. If they could, they would stack marksman snipers because they could take such little damage and they could cheese mechanics. Like they could roll through orbs, they could cheese the spike of pain purple circle. They would just take less damage than other classes. And if there were even snipers that don't like marksman and they're like, I want to bring my sniper, but if I can't play marksman, there's not a point because I can't get the AoE damage reduction. And it'll get to a level where you sort of see people switching their mains and you see people switching classes because they can't have fun on their class on certain content. And I feel like this utility system is going to make it to where I still get to play what I want and I get to contribute to the raid, but I also still have to make sure that I'm optimizing my skill specializations. And, you know, as we're going to talk about later, you will not have to spec hybrid for certain things.
All right, so let's talk about
Yeah.
hybrids.
Can
All
I
right, Joe,
take
go.
a moment here too? The ones you automatically get on while you level, those do seem to be more tied directly to the abilities that are related to that tree, and the one with the utility points do seem to be more generally applicable to anyone within the class, or they try to spread it out so that it, like the one where you're on the move and it actually has one for each ability. But a lot of them are ones that could be used by someone from any of the specs, like the Sorcerer Shield 20%. At least a PvP Sorcerer, any of the trees might want that. So yes, that's a utility one that you might choose. And I'll probably talk some more once we sort of get into the whole, similarities with Warcraft and that stuff like that. But it looks to me like the specific ones for the tree are on the left. You're going to automatically get those. The ones on the right are kind of like the hybrid spec ones. In other words, more generalist and more applicable to more types of characters.
So the right-hand ones, the utility... All right, Red, go.
Oh, I was just going to say, I mean, I think a lot of people are boo-hooing the fact that they're losing their 45 points or what would be 50 points. But, I mean, to be frank, no matter what tree you're playing, you didn't have more than a few points that you could distribute flavorfully anyway. At this stage, you're getting everything that is mandatory for the numbers or whatever, and now you have 7 utility points. You're not going to have hybrids, but you're going to see a lot more variety on Madness, or a lot more variety on Marksman, or whatever spec you previously liked. You can now have variety compared to other people based off of the style of gameplay that you have, or in a PvE environment, you could even change it up depending on the type of damage that's going out or whatever.
All right, so just to finish off the mechanics of it, the utilities and the selection thereof, the set of utilities is the same across the advanced class. So even if you change your discipline, they will be the same ones available, and they do different things depending on your discipline in effect, or they affect the different abilities in a certain way. Some of them are specific to the discipline, and some are more general. Every other ability that you currently train on your trainer will still be there. You'll still have to learn them. You'll still have to go to the trainer and learn them and rank them up. However, the abilities that you get from your discipline, you'll just magically get, and as soon as you choose that discipline, and they will automatically rank, so no training required.
Right.
And when you hit level 10, that is when you will have access to your discipline, and you don't have to do that mission anymore where you had to choose your advanced class and talk to the advanced class trainer. You don't have to do that. They'll still be there. You don't have to do that. You can just do that at level 10. In terms of respecking, as long as you can talk to the skill mentor NPC and choose a new discipline, and that will also let you reset your utility points. But if you have purchased the Field Respec Legacy perk, which is available right now, which is per character, that will let you do the reset in the field as well. So whenever you want, you can just switch your discipline.
Right.
And you can independently reset your utility points, and they're going to let us do that whenever you're out of combat, or when you're out of combat and not in a active raid encounter.
Right. Or in a war zone.
Or in a war zone. Yes. So at the moment, you can stealth out, actually right now you can actually respec in combat, which was quite a surprise to all of us when we found that out. But yeah, you are not. They're going to prevent that, and I'm wondering if they're going to be able to prevent stealth resing and all that kind of stuff now that they're actually paying attention to active raid state. If a member of your operation is in combat, the boss is engaged, they may prevent anything.
Right.
You're basically counted as in combat. So yeah, but between fights, you can reset your utility points, and that seems to be the intention. You can and change your discipline if you must, but more likely you may just want to switch your utilities a little bit.
Right, which is kind of nice, and it does certainly without having 55 or so many points to spend. It will certainly take less time to make the switch. You'll still have to move a few buttons on your bar. You will make choices in the utilities, but overall it should be quicker and also less prone to error. Because I know sometimes if you try to spec real quick, you might accidentally take one that you didn't really mean to.
Exactly. So, and remember, the only actual difference between the disciplines in terms of abilities are those active 4. So those will disappear. You'll have to place new ones, etc. Now it's more complicated than that, but
the other thing he mentioned when it was during the live stream is the field respec from your legacy unlock is still
already
necessary.
Said that.
Yeah, okay. The other thing is that when he was describing the engagement encounter, it didn't sound like they'd actually coded that yet. They want to do it that way, but that they haven't. It didn't sound like they'd actually found a way to successfully make that work yet. But of course, since we haven't yet.
I didn't get that impression. I got the impression that at the moment they're ignoring active raid state, but they will be. So
yeah, that's their full intent.
It's something they're ignoring right now. So yeah, I suspect that will be in for sure.
Yeah.
Now, this, if you have played World of Warcraft at the transition between when Mists of Pandaria launched, this is very, very, very similar to what WoW did. Though, from what I can see, the implementation is actually a little bit cleaner and sweeter in several ways, but that's my impression. Having experienced that back when I was playing WoW, it actually was pretty smooth, and their reasoning for it that BioWare talked about, so we can go into the why, is kind of the same as we've already alluded to. When you currently spend your points in your skill trees, there is it's mostly the illusion of choice. There's a bunch of stuff you have to get the points to actually rank up to where you want to be in terms of the abilities. But a lot of the stuff is kind of no-brainers. You'd be silly not to pick it. And thus simplifying it like this really presents you with a bunch of choices which actually are meaningful in a clean way and actually do force you to make some quite interesting trade-offs from just the initial glimpse we've had of what those utilities are. Probably their main motivation for this is that this allows them to design the disciplines, the classes, in such a way that they're only playable in the way they intend, basically by eliminating hybrids. Hybrids will no longer be possible. You cannot do a half and half build in 2 different trees, and that is absolutely intended because there are untested because there are so many combinations, as they made quite clear during the live stream. They're quite capable of testing the 24 different disciplines that will be available, and that's fine, but they can't possibly test every possible combination of skill points that you have right now, and thus we have things like the dot smash spec and the various other combos that they've had where people just do stuff that's kind of clever, but again, not intended, and thus you have overpowered whatever.
Right.
I still loved my dirty sabotage, though.
Oh well.
And I'm enjoying 23-0-23 Trooper, so yeah.
Oh well. I can't see this is a bad thing, honestly, because
it doesn't bother me.
Okay.
The reason for this is that they are now able to focus a lot more on. They'll be able to do a lot more by simplifying it from their point of view, from the combat's point of view. Balancing is easier. Making changes to abilities is easier. Going forward, they will be able to add, and level cap increases likewise will be a hell of a lot easier for them. We may not have to wait so long for another level increase, more story content to actually let us proceed. Every time they added more skill points, People could do stuff in crazy new ways, and now they just don't have to worry about it. That's why Blizzard did it. That's why BioWare are doing it. And it just makes sense.
Right.
So this is a good change in that respect.
And getting rid of
Yeah.
hybrids is going to improve tuning in not just PvP, because in ranked it's going to be important because the quote-unquote meta of ranked PvP is if you have an assassin overall, you're going to have him in a Dark Maul hybrid. It's basically a tank hybrid. PTs have a tank hybrid they use in ranked PvP that's much stronger than the full spec. And in Nightmare rating right now, because they've said that they can't test hybrids because there's just too many variations, that would also imply that they cannot tune encounters for hybrids. And a big issue with Nightmare rating in this tier that really didn't have to do with development of it was just that you could spec your tanks into hybrids, at least you could spec PTs and assassins into hybrids, where you would take no damage. Like, you would take damage that had to be healed normally, but for certain fights like Tyrants and Bestia, if you were double soaking on multiple monsters at the same time, if you were full spec assassin, you were taking close to 4k damage per second. You spec to hybrid, by the end of the fight, you're taking less than 1400 damage per second. It's a huge swing, and it's one that I don't think that the devs, like, they had to have been aware of it, but you can't tune the content around a hybrid when they admittedly can't even test for it. So I think that if they give all the utility, if you say, okay, assassin tanks, you can have your AoE damage reduction because everyone can in the utilities, at least then they can tune the damage for that. Because right now healers are already such a strong class that it's not like they needed more help, you know?
Well, and the other wonderful thing that ties directly into the whole leveling experience is that they don't have to shove a whole bunch of points higher and higher up the tree. You can actually get them as you level the way that they wanted you to, and you can actually enjoy the leveling process in a more fluid, organic manner as you're picking up your abilities and increasing along the way.
Yeah, and in the stream he did mention that.
This lets them front load abilities, keystone abilities far earlier. Which is basically, for example, I was having a look at Dolphy actually has broken down all the stuff that was revealed because David quite helpfully was mousing over everything, and someone apparently noted down all of the new abilities as he went. And Madness, for example, Hatred Assassins will get Deathfield at level 10, which is pretty cool, actually, rather than having to wait like level 40 or something once you got enough points to get to the top of the tree or wherever it was.
Deathfield is 11
nice.
points after level 20. Yeah. Yeah.
So
but that's still pretty far. I mean, you're in Nar Shaddaa by the time you get that ability, which is pretty iconic for Madness. Yeah.
Exactly.
Overall, let me just say, I will miss the traditional talent tree. I know their ability, their reasoning, their reasons are rock solid. I'm not arguing with them. Having said that, though, I'm going to miss the ability to have hybrids because I enjoy messing around with hybrid builds, and I've had them on a bunch of characters. I even worked for a while to try to get into my PvE main, but I just couldn't make it work on a Shadow. Almost did, but just couldn't quite get the damage and the survivability balanced right. I think in PvE it makes a little less difference. I mean, and Justin sounds like he knows more about this than I do, and maybe there were some hybrids that were causing problems. But in PvP, you would see a lot of hybrids because people were trying to, get some tankiness, but also keep their damage up. Because the threat isn't as, you don't need to worry about threat in a PvP environment, so you want more damage, and you just want to sort of squeeze out as much survivability as possible. So I am gonna miss the ability to have all the points to spread around because I had a lot of fun doing that, and I do recognize that their reasoning is solid. I do like this version a little better than the Warcraft version. The Warcraft version really made me sad, and yeah, you would get a cool ability at a fairly early level and all that stuff, but there was so little choice. It was so stripped down that it basically it felt like door 1 or door 2 or door 3, and that's about it.
Yeah, exactly.
This one feels a little better. Yeah, I won't be able to really do a hybrid. I will have an actual tree, but that's for the most part that's usually okay. The utility points and being able to spread that around, I kind of dig that. So at least it's not just like 4 choices, during the entire leveling process. It's actually a little bit broader than that, and a little wider as far as. So I can have like a DPS kit class, but then I pick a bunch of defensive defensive utilities to make me a lot meatier, maybe for PvP or maybe in PvE if I'm having trouble with the melee damage or something like that. Or you just go glass cannon or whatever. Yeah, so overall, like I say, emotionally I'm not 100% with it, but I understand it, and I do think that I like this better than how I liked the change in Warcraft.
What about you, Red? What do you think?
From my perspective, when I first started this game, because it's like I've grown to appreciate the trees and find some hybrids and take advantage of that. And when I found solutions, I haven't shared them, so I was able to do well in circumstances that perhaps others didn't, because I wasn't. It got left alone because BioWare wasn't quite aware of it for quite a bit longer. But when I started this game, I honestly saw the talent trees and thought, wow, this is antiquated. Like, there was a great nostalgia feel to it, but I was really shocked that they actually just went with something that was such an old style, and this excites me a lot. I like new, I like change. Also, as an expansion, I'm really happy to see this happening. I think this will also enable them to, utilizing the utility and adding those with future expansions and whatnot, can shake up the classes a little bit more, because we're playing the advanced classes the way that they want us to. We don't have to play the same stinking version. 2.0 was barely a change when it really came down to it. Like if you were a shadow tank, you got phase walk, which changed nothing about your tanking. So if you've been a shadow tank this whole time, you've been playing the same tank the entire time with no change. I mean, I'm hoping that with these changes, we'll also get to see a little bit shaking up and challenge and difference to our characters, because playing the same thing for 6 years is not an appealing thing to me. So I'm very, very, very excited by this.
Justin?
What was that?
What do you think? What's your overall impression?
I'm actually very excited. I was a fan of skill trees. I don't have anything against them, but just from a enjoyment of actual singular specs, I was happy to see them move away from hybrids, and I realized disciplines are the best way to go about that. The thing that excites me most about the system is just there's something new. Even if it's just the abilities, they've retooled them to look a little different. Maybe there's augments on how the damage is applied, if it can add force crit when you're applying a certain dot. The fact that when I saw a quick bar when they were going through the disciplines and one of the abilities lit up in gold around the edges, that's awesome. Mm-hmm. It's not dot tracking, but it's awesome, and I'm excited for it. And to me, it's almost like, I remember one time in a previous episode, Red was talking in chat about how, changes to your rotation and changes to gear can be considered new content. And with the new discipline system, this excites me just as much as having new operations, just as much as having new planets. It's something new for me to do. Like, we were going through the BioWare stream in Guild on Mumble, like 8 of us. We were going frame by frame trying to read all of the changes in the Assassin and the Assork trees. It was crazy. Like, we were getting hype about seeing what level we got an ability at. It's like, oh, Lightning Bolt at 57. I'm excited. It's like, I don't even know what Lightning Bolt is yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So let's just talk about some other stuff that came out of the live stream. Firstly, there will be no dual spec or dual discipline or multi-discipline, which is a real shame. I mean, I think our first thought when we saw disciplines was, surely if they're going to be revamping all of this, they can actually add the capability of having 2 different discipline choices available to you and be able to quickly switch between them, preserving action bars and that kind of thing. But no, they said that is not coming with 3.0. Still on high on their priority list.
Right.
There is a bunch of new combat animations, and I do wonder if this is done, because there are still some slight differences maybe between animations between the different factions, and maybe they're just cleaning those up a little, perhaps. But they look pretty good. There's this new Force Leech thing that the Hatred Assassins, I think, are getting, where they can actually suck life out of their opponent, which just
it looks like for Sorcies it's a cast ability with a range, and for the Assassins it's a melee ability.
Right.
Instant cast, of course. Yeah.
Now, as Justin mentioned, they now have when when you get a proc that allows an ability to be used, there was that gold indicator on the action bar, which was a nice quality of life change. They are not giving us dot tracking, but that is very high on their priority list. And I got the impression that if time permits, they will get it in for 3.0, as in being able to see your dots on as opposed to other people's dots.
Right, or have yours highlighted or something. Yes.
Yep. Now, also, they did talk about some global combat changes, sort of just by the by, that came snuck out during the live stream. For example, dots cannot be cleansed anymore. That's a hell of a change. So damage over time abilities, once they're on you, you can't cleanse them off. The only exception to that is self-cleanse, which stealthers need, so they can actually cleanse the dots that are on them and then escape from combat and go into stealth.
Yeah, those are called purges, and they always have a long cooldown.
Yep. Yeah. However, you will be able to cleanse pretty much all, in his words, crowd control in the game, which
That's
includes
interesting.
stuns.
That is going to be a huge change in PvP, right there. Right there.
But the cleanse is on now on a longer cooldown as well. So it's currently about 4.5 seconds. It will be longer.
Yes.
I don't understand why they're going this direction at all. It's absurd. They're basically saying, as a healer, you shouldn't be able to cleanse damage. Like, that's just
you have
ridiculous.
To heal through it. Well, you're going to have to heal through it.
It's an absurd backwards. I mean, heck, that's one of the things at the launch of the game I was shocked by. You can't aggressively, offensively cleanse, like friendly hots from the enemy. Now you can't even cleanse damaging things to you. It's like, what's the point of this ability? Why? I don't understand why they decided to take this direction.
Let's find out more before we...
it reduces...
I see what you're saying. What do you think about being able to cleanse stuns, though?
Yeah, of course it's nice. But, I mean, fine, let us be able to do that, too. I just don't know why you remove the exact purpose of why this was put in the game in the first place. And, but yeah, you can remove CCs. Cool. Yay.
For me, the way that I thought of it was... So in PvP, let's say that I'm running a dot class. If healers can cleanse the majority of my application of damage, I'm doing no damage. Whereas if I don't run a dot class, I run a burst class, I can still apply all my damage. So it's like, unless you're going to CC me and eventually I'm going to get a full resolve bar, I'm just going to be able to do more damage than a dot class. Now, in PvP,
congratulations,
I don't know.
PvP. You make those decisions based on how it works in the environment.
No, I do get that. But what I'm saying is the other thing that has to do with like why they may be stepping away from cleanses. Healing output right now is so strong that it's like if you have to give them something to heal. Healers complain all the time. I have nothing to heal. I have nothing to do. All I can do is damage because there's nothing to heal. Take away people's ability to cleanse, make the dots actually tick hard, they will stop complaining. They will have something to heal.
Right. Well, it also makes dot balance a lot easier. I mean, because otherwise you have to figure, okay, well, if they can cleanse the dot caster's abilities, therefore, well, we got to make them hit harder. Well, therefore, they're going to have to cleanse them. That makes healers even more important. But it creates all these weird balance things. If they're just not cleansable, then you just know that you make the dots do the same DPS as the burst, roughly, and you're good to go.
There is the obvious question about what this is going to do to current operations. Obviously, operations going forward will be designed differently. But Nephra does come to mind, where there are dots being put on players and they must be cleansed. Maybe mob dots can be cleansed or whatever, but who knows? They're going to be talking about that later. Also, there came up Alacrity, currently kind of useless across the board. Will, as it does now, decrease cooldowns, but will also affect rate limits, so that something that can only proc every, say, 7 seconds, if you have a certain amount of alacrity, will actually decrease that. It will make your said dots tick faster. Hopefully that also means hots heal over time as well, hit faster. Pretty much the way that haste works in World of Warcraft, say. So,
well,
hopefully.
I think I said about a year ago that this is exactly how they did it, because originally, just the last change to alacrity was that it helps to boost your regen a little bit, and it affects your global cooldown slightly, and WoW did that. And then the next step that WoW did was that they reduced the time between ticks and cooldowns. So we saw this coming a mile away. I'm just really excited. I'm curious to see how stat distribution and how they adjust their the mathematics behind the scene to find out if, like, immediately I would say dot spec Sentinel Marauder would benefit from this tremendously because they don't have to worry about diminishing returns on their resources. But I'd love to see them actually boost those resources just a little bit, or if they can make it a little bit more impactful, if it actually ended up changing which abilities you cast, maybe even dropping an ability entirely from your list once you get above a certain alacrity level, just because you can force more in, and because you need to balance your resources, you drop one out that's a high value, high cost force ability, or whatever your resource is.
Right. Drop it out of every other rotation or something. Yeah.
Yeah. If we made alacrity interesting enough for all of the classes that it actually even started shaking up how priorities even played out once you got at certain thresholds, that would be really intriguing.
Right. One interesting thing that WoW did with the hots and dots was, like if you had, just to take an example, like something that lasted 10 seconds, and you drop that, by like 25%, or say 20%, so it's 8 seconds. Instead of just having it tick that many more times and then dumping off at 8 seconds, it would actually try to keep the same length of time, and it would actually add extra ticks as needed until it would have expired anyway. And at that point, the hot or the dot goes away. So you actually have this haste, or in this case, alacrity thing, where if you get past a certain alacrity threshold, you'll actually get an extra tick in. And the reason they did that is because otherwise you end up having to recast these hots and dots even more than you already are, which is usually a lot if you're a hot or a dot class. And that way they could keep the amount of casts the same, and yet still have the alacrity change. So it'll be interesting to see whether they do it the simple way or whether they get the extra ticks.
I guess we'll see. All right, there's just some other stuff I want to get through, and then we'll just wrap up. But I just wanted to mention they're also adding a group enhancing ability, just like at the moment it's only Sentinels and Marauders who have it, which is Sentinels get Inspiration, Marauders get Bloodthirst, but every class, it sounds like, every advanced class maybe, will get something along these lines.
Right, yeah, which means in addition to Marauders, I guess that means Juggernauts will get it too.
Indeed. So they want to make sure that there isn't just a single AC which has got the thing that you must bring one of these so that you get the buff, or to get the temporary buff. So just running through it, unlimited power, which is what the Sorks at least will get, increases your all the primary stats basically for the op group by 10% for 10 seconds. There's something called tactical superiority, increases 10% crit for 10 seconds. Bloodthirst, which is what we've got now, 10% damage and healing for 10 seconds. And Supercharged Celerity, 10% Alacrity for 10 seconds, which is where the whole Alacrity ain't so crap came into it.
Right.
They mentioned set bonuses and how they were alluding to something being really different with set bonuses. They're going to be new ones. They'll be available at level 60. But they're changing the system somehow.
Yeah,
but if you want to hang on to your old set, you can at 55, or even use them at 60 if you so desire.
Can I make a wild guess?
Yeah.
That the set bonus is going to be adaptive. Like, basically, if you swap between disciplines, the set bonus will adjust to fit accordingly.
That would be cool.
That's just wild speculation.
You just need a chest piece, and you'll have a chest piece for all three.
Because if you think about it, like hybrids,
that would be cool.
Utilizations of gear sets that way, it has frustrated them at times. It's like, well, if I take this one healer set bonus and this other one, because I find that both of these 4-piece set bonuses are crap, but then this way they can actually design the set around the way they want it designed for your actual discipline. That's just a wild guess, but it seems to fall in line with their philosophy right now.
All right. Let's just quickly run through a bit of feedback from the community about 3.0 from Simon of the Oceanic Gamer. I'm now glad that I never remembered my rotations, as it sounds like SWOTOR won't remember them either after 3.0. NGE Woo, alluding to the whatever it was called from Star Wars Galaxies. where they change the combat system substantially. This is not like that. It's nothing like all that crap they did with Galaxies. It's far similar to what, as we've already talked about, they did with Mess and Pandaria, which is actually quite a good change for WoW at least, and will presumably be the same for SWTOR. At Descartes, potentially so full of awesome, I see their point on must-take talents like plus percentage of main stat, you have to take it. On the other hand, everything to do with class balance is suddenly up in the air. Yes, that is true. As 1.3.0 goes live, anyone who's currently overpowered probably won't be anymore. Who knows how it'll all balance out. Hopefully these changes they've made to this system will make balancing quicker and easier than it is now. So even if it isn't, even if it is imbalanced, they should be able to deal with it.
Right. Frankly, though, if they'd kept the old system, class balance would still be up in the air. So any change always puts everything like that up in the air. So this is slightly more than usual.
From Turg, the change to low-level advanced classes would have been great a couple of years ago. With 12 times XP, I don't plan to have any low levels by 3.0. Seems like completely respecting skill tree system would be a good opportunity to implement multi-spec, but no mention of it. We talked about that already. They're just, it's hopeful, but they'd like to do it, but it probably won't be in 3.0. He also said leveling purely through class story is amazing. Sorry, locals, I'm here to save the universe, not deal with your BS. By ignoring all the world missions, yes. From Jay Connell, I tend to think it's more of a turn in the direction of the Guild Wars 2 skill system, giving people more rounded classes. I think it's more a step towards making more flashpoints tactical, which would be much more like Guild Wars 2, where everyone can do everything. I actually don't agree with you, Jay. I think that what they're actually doing with the whole discipline system is making each discipline more pure in its vision for the type of class that it is, rather than making us all more generic. Because the abilities for each of those disciplines are quite distinct and remain so, and the utilities are simply ways of enhancing those various disciplines in different ways.
And some of the utilities will be more or less generic, but a lot of them seem to have different directions for different classes. You know, the different.
And now
traits, so.
You can't actually have a hybrid damage dealer and healer, as was possible with some hybrids. You really are either a healer or a DPS in effect. So it's just making it better, basically. So, and if you really want a particular class now's a great time to get it. So just quickly level up to 55 in the next few weeks. All right. Lastly, we've got some Nathaniel Starr, who has been well known to us in the past for having some controversial points of view. He says, so the big reason they give for the 3.0 changes is that it will be easier to balance. They state that several times in the dev blog. Well, balance isn't an issue in PvE, really. Sure, some classes perform better in certain fights, but it's not game-breaking. But where the current balance issues exist currently is in PvP. Do we agree?
Generally, I think that's correct. Because, I mean, when they get rid of the hybrids, they're getting rid of a lot of those one-off things that Justin was talking about. But yeah, I mean, there is a PvP aspect, and they're definitely looking at that too. But but really, they are where the hybrids really shine is PvP, because there's so many more options for it. Right. And that's where they're getting rid of that, and therefore it should make PvP easier to balance. A lot more easy to balance than it has been.
So what he goes on to say, they've been unable to nerf healing operatives and have been unable to make the other healers on par with them in PvP. Even though the operatives has been way too powerful for a long time, they've seen very few nerfs. I can see how with the current skill tree system, nerfing them is not possible. The fact that it would have to be a huge nerf to several abilities would simply be seen as too overt and too big, but honestly they have a high place to fall from. Because of this, I'm of the belief that this game change is actually a way to nerf that class in disguise and maybe break up the abilities of a few other classes as well. But it is a necessary nerf. A necessary nerf if you want to save the PvP part of the game. So, yeah, well, conspiracy theory. But, no, that isn't why they're doing it. It's just a really happy consequence of it, I suspect. However,
3.0, the expansion, is how they're going to nerf any class that needs it without nerfing them, because they now have to get 5 more levels and can balance accordingly, put nerfs in so that they aren't quite as strong comparatively to others.
This is the perfect opportunity for a level set. As of 3.0, everything changes. So even if I suspect healing operatives will be as mobile as ever, so that probably isn't going to change. But they can just adjust things a little bit. So any imbalance that exists now will probably be dealt with, and as we've said already, future imbalances that are discovered will also be able to be dealt with differently or more effectively, and they're far less likely to happen because you aren't going to have all these bizarro hybrid combinations possible.
Yep. Justin, do you agree?
My whole thought on PvP is that obviously operative healers are extremely powerful, but if you sort of flip it over, operative DPS is not powerful in PvP. And when they were asked about PvP changes for DPS, it was basically, in our metrics, we have found that operatives do great in ranked and see this. And it's like, well, yeah, because they're healers. Like, for me, the biggest issue is not really about the fact that operatives are good. It's the fact that mercs and sorks and sages and commandos are less viable. I mean, I don't necessarily think that operative healers need a nerf. I just think that mercs need a way to have more mobility. Sorks and sages need something that makes them more mobile, and being able to cast everything on the move
utility system,
and which they are getting. So
yeah. So for me, that already is going to, well, hypothetically, we haven't tested it, we haven't seen it live, but hypothetically, that's going to fix some of the issues at hand with why operatives were so popular in ranked PvP with heals.
Right. All right, finally he says, do you think a dramatic change like this will be seen as too much of a change and push people away? Will it be looked on as a kind of NGE, which we already addressed, that we know that it really could not be a change level of the NGE, that was a completely new game. So that was Star Wars Galaxies. No, nothing like that. It'll be fine. In fact, it's taking the vision of the combat system the way they actually wanted to do it all along, simplifying it and making sure that bad stuff can't happen, and simplifying the future development. So it's all good.
And at the end of the day, if you think change is bad, don't play a game that has downloadable content, expansions, or increasing level caps. The game changes. That's part of the fun, is discovering how to play the new aspects of it.
Right.
True.
And unlike how I understand how NG affected Galaxies, they were very careful to point out several times in the stream that despite all these changes, if you were playing a pure class already, it's going to feel very much the same. There will be 1 or 2 new abilities, just like there would be with any expansion, but the rotation will be much the same, the abilities will feel very much the same, and so on. So it's ultimately it's just a way to get hybrids out of the way.
All right, so this is Game Update 3.0. When you think about it, we've actually heard very little about it in detail, really.
Right.
But the discipline system was a big reveal this week. They're going to keep talking about stuff going forward. This is the marketing plan. Turns out Chill was right. They are going to be spacing it out, which actually makes sense given they're changing quite a few things. So that's great. And so this will give us lots to talk about, presumably in the weeks leading up to its release. Early access begins 2nd December. Pre-order now. All right, any final words?
Enjoy the crazy leveling. Man, it is crazy, too. And were there any questions, Red? Red?
Oh, yeah, there are a few questions.
Okay.
So, for those of you who are going to be changing your main with the expansion, what do you think you're going to play?
Can we answer that next week, please?
Sure.
I'll save that one.
So
just quick ones. We're actually running really long.
Okay.
Save them for next week.
Yeah, I'll save them for next week then.
All right.
What was it? Yeah, I had something I was going to say, and now I'm losing it from my brain.
Sorry.
Poor
Distracted me with questions.
Left him.
I know. I hamstrung you there. I ambushed you.
Anyway, I'm totally psyched for the expansion to come. I can't wait for it to get here. I do think that it's a shame that it's not a full expansion of the game. Like, we're getting PvE content, but nothing for GSF or even open world as far as we tell, or PvP or anything like that. But I'm really excited, and I am actually quite happy to see them shaking up the skill trees a lot. That pleases me to no end. I'm just a little bit confused why it's twice as expensive as the last one, but it is what it is.
$20, really?
Yeah.
It may not be much for you. It is for some people. On top of a subscription.
Justin?
Yeah, it's hard to say.
I'm very excited for 3.0. I was getting a little frustrated with the lack of updates in the content cycle, not with the actual content, just the updates about 3.0. And I gotta admit, I gotta give it to them. They hyped me up. I was a little pessimistic, and the minute it was announced, we were all in mumble. We were just on the hype train. Everybody's excited. We're all leveling new characters that we've never even considered playing before. We're like having conversations about lore, about implications. I mean, they've absolutely got me. Like, I've pre-ordered. I'm taking some time off for the first week of December for early access. Like, it's happening, guys. The hype train has left the station.
Indeed. All right, let's wrap it.
All right, that's a show. If you'd like to play with us in the Utini Knights Guild on the Republic side of the Harbinger server, or in our
Utini Rage
Guild on the Empire side, do a /c join Utini to join the Utini channel. Then ask for the quiz that lets us know you're a fan of the show. You can email questions and comments about the show to OotiniCast@gmail.com. Follow us on Twitter. We're on @OotiniCast. I Twitter under my own name @Brandon L. Starr, and Tio uses his name @Jason Etheridge. Red Twitter's under @R3DN4, or you can watch him on twitch.tv/R3DN4. Justin Twitter's @Warlord Kefis, the Death and Taxes Guild, dtguilds.com. Check out our website, OotiniCast.com, which has links to our presence on Google Plus and Facebook. You can subscribe to us on iTunes. We're also on Stitcher and Spreaker. We record the show live every Wednesday at 4:30 p.m. Pacific. Go to OotiniCast.com/live to find out how to join in. Our theme song is from Mevio's Musicali. Check it out at music.mevio.com. That's MEVIO. And thank you to the chat room, and thank you, Justin and Red.
Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, thank you. See you next week.
And we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
All right, guys, keep recording. Thank you, chat room. Yes, that ran long, but how often did they announce an expansion? So, to be expected.
It's nice to have a lot more that we didn't even cover that we can talk about next week, too.
Indeed. Red will has saved your questions, and we'll just include them in the feedback for next week. No, Charlie, we've had longer ones, I'm pretty sure. 2 hours, 10 minutes of audio, so that's not too painful. Guys, keep recording after I end the stream. So, yep, we'll see you next week. More 3.0 goodness, no doubt. Stopping the stream.
Good night, all.